Thanks a lot, Shweta, for taking time out on a working day to come and be a part of it. So before we begin the session, I just want to understand the audience that we have here so you're able to give the right insights to them. So I'm just going to run two polls to understand who the audience are. Just give me a moment.
Yeah, of course. Sure.
Hello, attendees. I'm just sending out two polls. One is about who you are, whether you're a student, teacher, or a parent. And then two, if you're a student, what category of a student do you belong to? Are you a 10th class student or a 12th class or an engineering student, and in which grade you are in? So just to understand that, if you can quickly vote, we will get into the session quickly.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay.
So 95.
So majority are students.
Majority are students. Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Perfect. We will end this poll quickly. And then this one, just to understand which grade you belong to, so that Shweta will be able to pick up as to what is required at that particular year of your college.
Shweta, are you able to see the polls?
Yeah, I'm able to view it.
Perfect. So majority of them are from the third year of engineering then. Beautiful, guys. Thanks a lot for joining in. So before we officially begin, let me introduce about Shweta. Shweta currently works as a consultant, embedded consultant at Altron at Stockholm. Prior to this, she was a master thesis student at IR Nova. And before that, she's did a master's degree in embedded systems at KTH Royal Institute of Technology. Before getting into her master's degree, she worked with Ericsson in two different capacities. To start off, she was a graduate engineer trainee, and then she moved on to become a network engineer for close to 3 years. She's also a student from Amrita School of Engineering from my own college. So it's great to have you here, Shweta. So over to you, just to set the context. The whole agenda here is to help these students understand if they want to become an embedded systems engineer, what is the path that they should be choosing and what exactly is embedded systems all about. So if you could touch upon those, and then we will pick up questions from these audience. Perfect. Over to you, Shweta.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me. So essentially, since most of you all are in your third year of engineering, or at least in college, so essentially embedded systems as such is basically just a combination of computer hardware and software. So that could either be designed for a specific purpose or is a part of a larger system, right? And it could include anything ranging from, say, industrial machines to medical equipment, and anything as simple as cameras and household appliances like your washing machine, microwave, and such. And you even have presence in the aviation industry. Again, mobile devices are again a very good example of an embedded system, right? So embedded system usually it can either come with, say, a user interface or something that doesn't have one, right? And it's usually, like I said, it's a hardware and software combined. It's not just a single, it's both together, so, right? And usually for embedded hardware, it's mainly microprocessor, microcontroller based. And yeah, so embedded system as a whole has three components mainly. So hardware, software, and usually there's an operating system. So it's a good thing to brush up on your, it's always, if you're planning to have a career in embedded systems, it's always good to have a basic understanding of electronics, like, your BJTs and digital logic and such. And then let's see what else. Yeah,
so if I mean, just to add a little bit more on that, So say if someone who has not, of course, most of them over here are third year engineers and students, but say if you had to explain a real world sort of application of embedded system, one of the best things was, as you mentioned, mobile phones. Anything else
Yes.
which you see?
Again, like I said, your microwaves or washing machines, they all use FPGAs and ASICs. So that they are one of the best examples. And you also have a lot of medical equipment. That's one of the good things about embedded systems. Like you have a variety of opportunities in many different fields, and not so you could either be in consumer electronics or aviation industry, medical equipment, uh, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So
Uh,
yeah, Yogi. Uh, okay, so actually going going a little bit ahead. So you mentioned that it's a combination of hardware and software. So if you
yes.
had to break it down, right, in terms
Mhm.
of the skill set or the tools or the sort of basic uh, basic toolkit which anyone would have to build as they go about in a career in embedded systems,
Mhm.
what do you think will have to be the most basic skill sets? Then on what basis do they advance their career? So in just in terms of skill sets. So when I say that, I mean something as simple as learning how to code or learning about Arduino. So starting all the way from there to
Mhm.
piling on and becoming a really important embedded systems engineer. So how does one build about their career like that?
Got
Right.
it. Nikhil, just before that, Shweta, if you could just run us with your whole story of what all did you do in college and what are the different electives that you had taken and your
Okay.
journey, if you could start with that, that would actually set the context for this.
Yeah, sure. So actually, in my master's course actually has 4 tracks. So that's again like a basic embedded systems. Yeah. So there's electronics, and then there's where you learn, about working with sensors and different system on chips, ASICs, FPGAs. And you also learn about circuit designs and PCB designing. Um, yeah, so that is embedded electronics. And then there's embedded platform, where it's about you designing and assembling a single or a multi-core, say, CPU platform. So this would include embedded software. And then there's embedded software itself, where where you learn to design and maintain the softwares for the systems. This would also include a little bit of the hardware fundamentals. And then there's control track, which wherein you'll work more with um, integrated mechanical systems as such. So the track that I chose was embedded electronics,
Mhm.
right? So this one of the main things in this course was about circuit designing, right? So essentially, you have circuit designing and say um, hardware description languages. So we learn VHDL and Verilog,
Mhm.
and then electronic design. Some of the courses that I actually took was sensor-based systems, designing in ASIC and FPGA, and then uh, yeah, so microsystem technology, which was it's a microsystem technology was a little different because um, it dealt with uh, some MEMS technologies. Then there was also like analog digital interfaces, radio electronics. Um, yeah, so these are some of the courses that I took. But then there were also, so you could also take uh, tracks from different courses. So I also took up a course in mechatronics.
Interesting.
And yeah, so like I just wanted to explore the different options that I had, and I found that mechatronics, I actually really liked mechatronics.
Mhm.
It's super time consuming and it was quite stressful, but it was totally worth it. Like I had to spend, I used to go to the lab at 8 in the morning and then get back home by 11, 12 at night.
Whoa.
Because it was all about designing. So we had to design systems all the way, like on the software, and then mill out the PCBs, get the components, put them together, um, test it out, and make sure it works, and then present the working model to the professor.
Mhm.
So it was a lot of trial and error, basically, but it was a lot of fun.
So
So
it
these
was
are
more like a hands-on exposure that you
yes,
had during the college,
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Shweta, since both of us come from the same college, right,
Mhm.
and you're also an ECE student, how
Yeah,
was your your journey from first year to fourth year in
yeah.
college? How was it, and how did you try to pick up these? See, one of the things that in your profile also it says that you were a network engineer or a graduate engineering trainee at Ericsson. It's a
Hmm.
core electronics job, right? That's a
Yes,
core job for any electronics or electrical engineer. So
yes.
most of them end up being in IT field, but you've
Hmm.
been able to crack it. So
Yeah.
what is that 4 year journey in college that you had, which helped you crack that particular career and get your head start in the electronics core field?
And
So the
and
one,
adding on
yeah.
to Yogi's question, during this journey, what was that trigger which pushed you towards embedded systems?
Okay. So essentially, at least during bachelor's, I was very sure that IT was not the field for me because I had no interest in software at all.
Mhm.
So I knew back then itself that I needed something like hardware based. So and then through bachelor's, all my electives were all um, based on like VLSI design and digital logic design. So it was essentially electronics based, and like I think we had courses on VHDL also. So I took those electives, and then so of course during placements I did attend like most of the companies that came, and then there was Ericsson. I wasn't too you know I wasn't sure if telecommunication was again something that I was totally interested in. But then that was also, uh, I did take up those electives also. And then I think there was Ericsson, and then the very next day, um, Continental was also there.
Mhm.
So, and then Ericsson took, it was fine. I liked the way they presented, and so initially I didn't know what kind of project that I'd be put in. But then once I got to the company and then they put me in a project which was basically maintaining and optimizing cellular networks,
Mhm.
right? So, okay, so I'll tell you, the crux of it was just uh, so whenever you make a call, right? So sometimes there's a lot of disturbance, sometimes the call just drops. So I was part of the team for a particular region that reduces this, right? So so as you keep moving, as you keep traveling, I just ensure that uh, your call keeps connect it's connected throughout, and that the quality is good. So I was one of the teams,
Working on this. Got it.
yeah, working on that. And then as like it went on for about 2 years, and then I realized maybe okay. That's when I start. So I side by side, I was also following a couple of forums on so something called Spintronics that I had an interest in back in college itself.
Mhm.
And then so eventually, so I always had an interest in nanotechnology and
Okay.
nanoelectronics. So that again was part of my course in bachelor's itself.
Mhm.
So I used to keep reading things, different forums. And then I thought, okay, maybe it's a good opportunity to go for it. And then when I actually looked at my master courses, there's already a nanotechnology course. But then the reason I opted for embedded systems is because it's more hands-on and it's more. So I get to how can I put it? I get to design and uh, test it out myself. Nanotechnology, it's at least the course here. You do have, like, I did take up the microsystems course that I took up. It did have, so I got to work in the clean room and fabricate sensors in the clean room on the silicon wafer chip and such. But again, I think I knew that I enjoyed a PCB design and optimization much more. So yeah, that's how I ended up in embedded system course.
Got it.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So another point here was, so you said you had an interest towards, say, electronics, and you were also very sure that you're not going to be taking up any of these IT roles, right?
Yeah.
So during the college, did you take up any additional, say, projects or additional learning apart from what was being taught in this college as such to improve your, say, knowledge in terms of electronics or any sort of other specific fields that you were trying to pinpoint and get as much information or knowledge as possible?
So to be honest, I think I learned a lot more on my final year project because it was like a lot of dabbling and more hands-on, because mostly during bachelor's it's a lot of theory that's being, and you don't have as much practical um, hands-on experience as you'd like to. So it's a lot of theory, and like I said, I learned a lot when during my final year project. But I also did, read, and so like I said, I read like a lot of forums to just go through things. I like watch videos, and then there's so I had a Arduino board lying around, so
Yeah.
just dabble in that. It's just self-interest. So I didn't take up extra or additional courses as such, but this is just something like uh, you have a lot of plenty of tutorial videos on YouTube or many other forums. So yeah, I used to take up that.
Got it. Nikhil, any other questions from your end, Nikhil?
So, if I were to ask you, of course, you mentioned all these things. Which was the very first project which you attempted related to embedded systems?
Oh, the first project that I attempted. So we actually tried to build some kind of a brake sensing system for a mountain bike, right? And we also tried to predict the gear that the mountain bike was in, which is actually pretty simple. So, um, so we basically used, it was like very simple sensors that we used. That was actually a lot of fun because we used like stepper motors, like I said, basic motors and sensors that we used. That was a lot of fun. That's the
Nice.
first
And
project.
hopefully no one crashed.
No, no, it was completely safe.
Okay,
In
nice.
a safe
Wonderful.
environment. Perfect.
Yes.
So the next one
Okay.
is, yeah, Nikhil, you're asking something?
Yeah, continue.
Okay. The next one is, have you done any internships during this period, during your bachelor's or in master's? And how has that shaped you? And along with that, if you can also tell, what is the process that you followed to get into an internship?
So there is I did do one internship related to this particular field. Um, so that was in IMD, where, so I think it was maybe a month-long internship during my third year. Yeah, during I think just before my third year. So that was fun because that's the first time I learned what actually goes into, how much work goes into PCB design and circuit design. So that's where anything from like multi-layered PCB. So we started off, the product that the company had was multi-layered, but then they gave us something that's two-layered. And yeah, I was mind blown because the amount of detailing that goes into it. Like first you design the circuit, and then again, learning the software itself could take a while. And then when you get the hang of it, there are like many nitty-gritties that you need to take care of, like any small thing that can impact. And then you run the simulations and see how it goes. So yeah. And as to how I got into the internship, um, so me and a friend of mine and me were actually just looking, and so he got the contact. Um, and we thought, since both of us were interested in electronics, we thought that it would be a good opportunity, and we gave them a call, and we sent them an email, and then gave them a call, and I think after about 2 weeks, we got a reply, and we set things up, and they were fine with it.
Got it. Interesting.
So, yeah,
Uh,
essentially,
In terms of, I mean, you're trying to get the internship, as you mentioned, it was just leveraging some contacts.
yes,
But
exactly.
I'm sure even at the internship stage, you may have had to go through an interview process. I'm just out of curiosity.
Yes, yeah. So it was just basically a meeting as such. So we were asked about our interests, what exactly we, like a career, what we wanted our career to be based on, and yeah, just whatever basic knowledge that we had. So it was actually a very budding environment, and we gained a lot of knowledge during that time. But essentially, if you're looking for an internship, I'd say uh, to get your LinkedIn, and just keep you need to do, especially in embedded systems, if you're planning a career here, you need to have a lot of networking. And so I suggest you build up your get your LinkedIn profile up to date, and maintain contacts with reach out to people who are in the field, and see if they can help you out, because you will usually find someone, and they will help you out. They will give you pointers some way or the other. So
Perfect. So one of the most important aspect is to reach out. Most of the students here are like very shy and are not sure how to go about it. So what would be your tips on that? Because I'm sure Nikhil, in terms of both of us, right? Nikhil is like an introvert and I'm an extrovert. I just outreach to people as quickly as possible. And then Nikhil is like, dude, you take care of it. So what is that one or two tips that as an introverted person that I don't like talking to a lot of people. So if that is the case, how do I go about it?
okay.
I'm sure you would have seen your friends who are probably introverts. They would have done something
Yes.
that would have worked for them.
Yeah, of course. So always, okay, the safest bet is probably sending them a message first. Send them a message, or like a personal message, or even an email, and then try to take it up like a telephonic conversation, or a Skype call, or Zoom call, or such, whatever. So that's always a good thing. But personally, I've always that's what I follow. So send them a message first, and then when they respond, see if we can. So I usually go for just meeting them face to face, because that way uh, if the person's available, of course, it's always better. But of course, you can have a telephonic call as well. So that's safe bet. Send them a message or an email first.
Got it, totally.
Okay. So just going back to the embedded system skill set. So
Mm-hmm.
I would like to understand, so say, what are, some very core fundamentals which you think people should not ignore as they're going about doing this? Some of the most basic things which, irrespective of what career path you take, projects or design or electronics or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
some of the core fundamentals which everyone should know, some of the core software which everyone should at least have an understanding of how to use. I mean, if you had to recommend, what would you recommend?
Okay, so I'd suggest you always have a basic knowledge of uh, hardware electronics, like I said, basic circuit designing involving BJTs, MOSFETs, uh, diodes. It's very good to have an understanding of that because that's a building block for any hardware. And then again, you could brush up your microprocessor and microcontroller skills. Just a basic, have a basic understanding of them and see what goes into them. And then when it comes to software, it's always good to know C and C++, embedded C. So it's good to have a knowledge about on these software programming skills. Of course, if you have more than that, it's obviously good. But I suggest yes, basic knowledge of C and C++ would go a long way because yeah, microprocessor, microcontroller, even some of the hardware, like you do use a lot of, you can use C. It's not just, so again, you can use Python as well. But yeah. And then I'd suggest, yeah, I think it's good to have these understandings first. And then if you can, hardware languages also go a certain way, but that's provided you're interested in embedded hardware, like, yeah.
Perfect. So just one question that I had. So basically right now what's happened is most of us, at least in the industry, feel that C, C++ is like outdated in the IT segment for sure. So there is a huge demand as such, according to us. There is this whole veil of amnesia around C, C++, and there is a huge importance being driven for Java, there is this new language called Dart by Google, and then Python. Do you see a lot more dependence or a lot more work that could be done through Python and a few of these newer languages, or do you still see a large dependence on the C, C++ kind of languages?
To be honest,
the older ones.
now I do see a lot of people moving to Python, but I'm not too familiar with the softwares, to be honest, because I'm completely in the hardware section right now. So I think the most that I use is like I don't remember. I think the last time that I used any kind of programming language was back when I was doing my master's. Because right now the projects that I'm working on are all completely hardware based. So that's only.
So just out of curiosity, I mean, of course, it's up to you to answer it, but why did you decide to shift to hardware, specifically hardware and embedded systems? Why not go for projects or go for software, or just trying to understand that thought process?
Yeah, so I think it was started in bachelor's, the first year of bachelor's. We have a course in C. Yeah, that's when I knew, no, this is not for me, because I just didn't have an interest in it, because that's when I knew, and I have learned Java as well, but it just didn't hold the same thrill as say VLSI and VHDL did for me. So that's why, yeah.
Got it. Just to clarify, guys, we will all be unmuting you to ask questions. We're just trying to get some sort of an overview and set context before we open it up. So please, if you have any questions, do use the Q&A tab below to ask your questions, or you can also, what you can do is you can raise your hands and then we will try to unmute you to ask your questions personally. So with that, there is one more question that I wanted to ask. This was a follow-up to that. How do we outreach? How do we reach out to people and then get them to talk to us? So you said either send them a personal message or an email, right?
Yes.
So just to clarify this, so what happens is we have seen a lot of people sending messages. Hi, this is my resume. I need an internship. Then I say, then I've just got an email without a subject, without anything, just a resume attached to it. So this might not be the right format for sure. What do you think should be that content of that particular email or content of that first message that I'm sending out?
Okay. So it's always a good thing to introduce yourself, start off. and give a little bit of background about what courses you've done, what interests you, and what exactly you're looking for. Because if you just directly send out your resume, the person isn't going to know what kind of role you're looking for or what your interests are. And there are no chances that he or she is gonna open the resume. So the main content is gonna be the message that you send. So a basic introduction, and then your interests and exact what kind of internship or role you're looking for. That's always a good thing.
So typically, if I had to say, hi, my name is, Yogi. I'm interested. I'm going to say an example from, say, marketing, because I'm in the marketing segment after engineering. Say, I'm interested in marketing internship, and I have these skill sets. Say, I'm good at Facebook marketing, whatever that is, XYZ. And then I say, this is what I'm looking at. So would that be like a right message that I could send? Probably
Yeah.
I'll attach an email or attach my resume to that.
Resume, yeah. And then, yeah, of course, that's a good example. And just say, I'm hoping if you have any, I'm looking for some opportunities. It would be great if I could reach out to you, or if we could have a call, or please let me know if you have any open opportunities.
So one more thing, adding on to this question. So typically, say designers or writers or architects are able to send their portfolio as an example of their work.
Yeah.
So if I were to ask you, what would constitute as a portfolio for an embedded systems engineer?
Well, it's mainly about the projects that I work on. I mean, I can't attach the projects, but like a basic. So I usually just mention the projects that I've worked on, and yeah, so you should mention them in such a way that the person reading it will get an understanding. So you can't just say, for instance, the project, the mountain bike project. I can't just say sensors on mountain bikes. That's not gonna. So when you mention it, I say something like a brake sensing system on a mountain bike or something like that. So yeah.
Got it.
And just to understand, say from on the receiving side, you would appreciate if a person who's sending you for an internship request, or even if you were applying, if there's a lot of project information attached, or it doesn't matter. Like, what's your perspective on that?
I think it'd be good to have a project information attached. Of course, not too detailed. Like 1 or 2 lines, giving a basic description of the projects that you worked on. So that just piques your interest. So you get an understanding of what the person's worked on already. So yeah.
Just to add on to this, right? Since me and Nikhil also interact with a lot of students from, say, outside of the metropolitan cities, like tier 2, tier 3 cities, right?
Yeah.
One of the challenges that they have is they don't have access to resources for them to do projects. Their labs are not well equipped, but they, according to them, they believe that they have good theoretical knowledge. So how do they portray it or showcase that to a potentially a person who's going to either give them a project or an internship or some sort of a work with?
Well, it's always so since you have theoretical knowledge, it's I think one of the best things that you can do is set up a conversation. So when you talk to the person, the more in depth you get, the more you speak, the more the person gets an idea about how much you know, and he or she will get an understanding, about the level you're at. So I think that's a good.
Got it.
Okay.
Nikhil, do you have any questions, or do we open it up for the audience to ask their questions?
Yeah, just one final question, and then we'll open it up to the audience. So just trying to understand this. So there's, of course, embedded hardware, there's embedded software, and in embedded systems, there's also projects, like managing actual projects or being running such projects. So if someone were to go down that route, right, what do you think are some of the critical things he or she will have to consider, worry about, or build that into their skill set? And how do you how do you think they should go about building that part of their career if their interest is in trying to get into projects and embedded systems? So how should they go about doing that?
So you're talking about project management.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
an embedded system,
Specific
right?
to embedded systems. Yeah.
Again, it's always good to, that's the thing. So you have different ways of working in, so there's like Scrum and stuff, but that would work for software, but not necessarily for hardware. So you need to know about different management systems. You need to have a knowledge about different management systems. And uh, so usually there's one person who will take care of the hardware and software, and then there's uh, another person who overlooks the whole thing. But for that, um, again, hardware, software, there's a lot of, so you can have software deliverables quite quickly. Hardware, it's not, it's pretty unpredictable. Sometimes
Okay.
what's supposed to work might not. So uh, I, to be honest, for project management, um, I'm not very familiar, but I'd say have a good understanding of different work ways.
Okay. Okay. Sure. That's great. So, opening it up to the audience, guys, any questions, please raise your hand or ask it in the Q&A so that,
Or even in the chat window if you have any questions.
yeah, chat, Q&A, or you can just raise your hand. Actually, some people had raised their hands. Let me just quickly see if I can. Uh, okay.
Let's just give them a moment. In the
Yeah.
meanwhile, let me also check. I've written some pointers. Okay, Shweta, till the meanwhile that they bring up their questions. So one of the things that I also wanted to understand was you spoke about, say, hardware, electronics design is one of the core basics,
Mm-hmm.
and then you also spoke about the fact that they will have to create and prepare the basics on microprocessors, microcontrollers, programming languages, and like specifically C, C++, and Python.
Mm-hmm.
So along with that, you'd also mentioned something about electronic VLSI design, digital logic design as you move forward, right? So if you had to
Yes.
break it up in terms of, say, in first year, if you were to redo your whole engineering to equip yourself in a better prospects for a better job or a better career, right? What would you have done? Right
So
from first year, what are the languages you would have picked up, or what subjects would you have picked up in year one, year two, year three, and then move
uh,
from there? Right from bachelor's, I know
yeah,
a longer
okay.
journey, but then
So from bachelor's, I'd say circuit theory, very important. Circuit theory, and then say we do have some courses on VLSI that includes VHDL and Verilog. So that, um, then of course, like introduction to C, always good. Um, I don't really remember what other courses we had. Uh,
no, it's been
Digital
quite
signal
some time.
processing. Yeah, digital signal
Yes,
processing
DSP.
is a good, DSP is good. And then there's, I chose nanotechnology and nanoscience. Um, so that's again if you have interest in it. But then there's also if you want to get into, I think there was, honest. Do you like, do you have any idea about the courses that you? Because I'm not
Some
able
of
to
them, yes.
like.
So we had analog circuit design, then we had digital
I
circuit
think
design, then we had communication design, and then
yes,
a few others. Yeah. So I'm able to recollect some of them
yeah.
for sure.
So yeah, so analog
So,
digital interfaces. Yeah, so those are good. So
Perfect.
those were the main ones in bachelor's, essentially circuit theory and, yeah, anything related to that. And
so
VLSI.
actually,
Mhm.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but actually one of the participants has asked this question.
Yes.
Chaitanya has asked, what options do we have in masters to work in fields like FPGAs?
FPGAs. So
Yeah.
embedded system actually has a lot to do with FPGAs. Like the courses that I've taken has, in fact, my master thesis was a work on FPGAs itself. So I'd say if you want to if you want to study anything related to FPGAs, embedded systems is your course to take.
And in masters, what sort of fields should they try to, what sort of specializations or fields should they try to look at if they're interested in FPGA?
So in masters, you have again. I'm not sure you understand the question. I understand the question. So in terms of
so for example, masters, you have specializations in embedded systems, right?
yeah.
If they are interested in FPGAs, which sort of specialization should they try to pursue or look for?
You can go for hardware. So embedded hardware will have yes.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay, we have a question from Sai Swaroop. Sai asks, how to become a process designer after BTech?
No, Nikhil, the
Processor
question is
designer. Sorry.
processor designer.
Processor
Yeah.
designer.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very
Processor
sorry
designer.
about that. Yeah.
Processor designer. So I think it's after BTech, right? So again, look for courses like master's courses, of course, would be because I don't think you, or if you're not planning to do your master's, I suggest take up some online courses that delve more into this. And then you can, of course, look for internship or job opportunities. But I think to become a processor designer, you need a lot more knowledge than what BTech gives you. So it would be a good idea to look at master's courses, or like online courses.
Got it. Shweta,
So,
just
Sai,
to
I
add
hope
to
this
that
answers
for
your question.
One second, Nikhil.
Yeah.
Shweta, just to add to that, right? So if for example they choose to take up embedded system design in masters, does that help them in processor design? So does embedded systems also have a part of processor design or some sort of a take on processor design?
Yeah, it does, because processor. Yeah, I think it does. Because you may not learn. It depends. Also, you have a lot of courses. You have a lot, because not the course that I took was divided into, like I said, electronics and software, firmware, and control. So you can take up the courses that you want. You also have the opportunity to take other courses which will supplement your needs.
No, the reason why I was trying to ask that question was, does it fall under the purview of embedded systems, or does it get into the whole purview of VLSI system design? Or are they both same?
It does get into VLSI design and micro, but like I said, you need an understanding of VHDL and Verilog and semiconductor fabrication, which you do learn in embedded system. But then I'm pretty sure there are other courses also which might delve deeper into that.
Got it.
Okay.
So
So I hope, Sai, that answers your question. It was
Totally.
fairly detailed answer, but yeah.
Totally.
So we have another question from Samarth. Samarth asks us, hey ma'am, I'm a final year EEE student. I'm not really sure of what I'm really interested in. So I would like to explore. I don't have any skills other than my theoretical knowledge. So in that case, how do I approach companies for internships so that I can explore my interests? I'm sure a lot of other, participants are in the same boat. So what would you tell them?
So I'd suggest first explore. Good, because I did the same thing. But so you'll know when I'd suggest you look up some videos on YouTube, or in your spare time, check what works, what piques your interest, right? And I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure you do have skills other than your theoretical knowledge, but so you need to work up those skills. So suppose why don't you could take up a course, or just read about some of the softwares. Like it could be anything from, say, say Eagle, which is a circuit design tool. So you could read up on it, see if that interests you. If it does, start learning that particular software. As same goes to say a programming language called Ada. Read up on that. See, just the more you read, the more you get an idea about what interests you, and then pursue that. See if you can, get more knowledge on that, and
Samarth, I hope.
reach out to people uh, who are in that particular field, and see if they can help you out.
Samarth, I hope this answers your question. We have another question from Sarnam. Sarnam asks us, uh, this is a third year student of ECE. What kind of internships would you suggest?
Shweta, just before you answer that, I think it's better if they can elaborate this particular question. We'll probably unmute her and ask her to talk. Would that be okay?
Yeah, I think that'll be better because it's very.
Hi,
Hey, Sarnam.
Srinam, can you hear us? If you can hear us, please unmute yourself.
Hello, ma'am. This is Sarnam Shatika.
Yeah, hi.
I'm a third year student, and as you said, I'm also something having the same story. Even I'm very enthusiastic in joining in a core job. I want to join. So, what kind of internships would you suggest? I'm very much interested in embedded designing.
Okay.
So, what kind of internships and some of the companies which would give me better opportunity? Would you suggest some?
Sure. Again, embedded designing, it's pretty wide. So if you're interested in software or hardware, so if it's say hardware, I'd suggest you look at companies like Analog Devices or Samsung, where they get. So like I said, reach out, and because I did an internship in Analog Devices, though it was not any engineering related, but it was I was an HR intern, but I did gain a lot of knowledge because the manager that I worked with gave me the freedom to go talk to people, to the engineers who were working there, and I got a little bit of insight. And then, so I'd suggest if you're looking for an internship, you focus on what you're saying embedded design. So look out for companies or people who are in the field. Again, reach out to them and see if they can help you out.
Thank you so much.
So adding on to Shweta's answer, I mean, the fact she just mentioned, right? You don't have to always get the exact job description or internship, at least initially for what you want. Just building those connections will open up a lot more doors. Everyone, so even if it seems like an HR internship, but if it's in a company which you think can really, blossom your career, please go ahead and do it. Like the connections will be a lot more valuable than that 1 month.
Totally agree with that, Nikhil.
This internship that I did was like, I think after first year of engineering, so between the summer break. So I got it was an HR internship, but I did make a lot of connections. I learned a lot. So that's
so one more on, just to top that up, one of the other things that anyone who's looking to figure out what they actually want to do, start checking out YouTube videos, start discussing with people who are in a similar field. It could be on LinkedIn, it could be on Instagram, it could be on any social media platforms. Start discussing with them. The more you discuss with them, one thing is for sure that you will get a clarity on whether that excites you or not. And apart from that, get to know more about what they actually are doing hands-on, like what is the actual job role, what do they do day to day. So that will tell you, okay, can you see yourself doing that? If you're able to do that, I think that sets the tone for you to choose, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to just sit in front of the computer, just keep coding, or I want to start building things and test if this works or not. So the more you talk to people, you will obviously get a lot more clarity on that. Just that was my point to add.
Yeah.
So Chaitra actually raised her hand. Yeah, please continue, and I'll just ask her to unmute herself. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I think you guys said I'm a consultant, but I don't think I mentioned what exactly that I do in my day-to-day activities. So essentially, I design systems. So it depends. Since I'm a consultant, I work on different projects. So the project that I'm working on right now is on a medical device that's used to uh, uh, detect unusual brain patterns that's used to diagnose, say, conditions like Down syndrome or ADHD as such. So I'm working on the hardware part of it, where I'm making the design is already there. I'm making minor modifications to it, and then just checking to see if it could. It's a small project, but yeah, that's one thing that I'm working on. And another thing that I'm working on is I'm trying to build. Okay, this is the pet project of mine where I'm trying to build an analog synthesizer from scratch. So designing and building it. So that's something I'm working on. And then another project that I'm working on is for Google. So where I'm part of the hardware team that's developing prototypes for like speakers and units. Yeah. So
Damn,
I'm working.
that sounds that's like multiple projects. So on that note, Shweta, what does your typical day look like from morning till evening? Forget the personal life. At work, what does your typical day look like?
So, well, before the whole quarantine thing, so I
So it's
work
like
for
post quarantine and pre-quarantine. Sorry, post quarantine and during quarantine. Yeah.
So pre-quarantine, I used to go to the lab at Google. So my work was mainly, and then so we had different software and hardware team. So the software team takes the prototypes, they go test it. It usually comes back broken or with some problem, and then it comes back to the lab. So we fix it. So we make patches. So it's a design and building. So we need to add few features. So for that, so we have few patches or something like voltage goes out. So we try to regulate the voltage, stuff like that. And then we also update the schematics with the new additions or deletions. There's also a lot of Excel work where you have to uh, uh, you know update the components, the bill of materials, check with the suppliers if the particular component is available. So that is what I do at Google. And then at back at my consultancy, like I said, I'm working on the medical
The
device.
medical device, correct.
Yes. So again, it's something similar where I'm looking at the designs and making changes to the schematics, updating it, and then when I get time, I work on the pet project in the lab again.
Analog synthesizer.
Yeah, analog synthesizer.
Perfect.
So this is my typical day.
So Chaitra, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? You had raised your hand. Chaitra Kulal. Okay, I don't think she is.
Her
Okay,
question
fine.
is about, will you provide recording of today's session? Chaitra, it's available
course.
on the Facebook page. You can watch it directly there. It'll be available for quite some time till Nikhil does some charm on this and then brings it out on the YouTube channel.
Yes. So we have another question, very interesting question. Sneha asks us, which is the best city for embedded course?
Embedded course.
Yeah.
Well, that's something you got to research on. And also depends on the courses that you want to take.
Okay.
But I'd say personally, I'll tell you that I chose Stockholm, rather Sweden, because it had the courses that I liked and the option to choose courses from other tracks. And other, because like some of the mechatronics courses that I took are not even from my course, they're from a completely different program, but I had the option of choosing that. So and also I'd suggest look at the rankings, like which department has the highest ranking in a particular course that you're looking.
Got it.
So an anonymous attendee asked
before
us,
that, Nikhil, just before that, I have a quick question. On this note, on the note of identifying courses and everything, right? What was your process that you followed to, okay, choose that I want to do my MS in embedded systems. at KTH Royal, I think Royal School,
Institute. Yeah.
Royal Institute of Technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your process that you followed?
I had like a few filters in my mind initially, because the first filter was not US. For some, it's a personal choice, of course. Like you shouldn't restrict your opportunities, but that was just a filter for me. So I started off with looking at best ranked colleges, universities for this course, and then beyond that, I looked at the courses being offered, because there are there are like very good universities, of course, but then you also need to ensure that the department, the electrical department at KTH is one of like pretty highly ranked in the world. And so yeah, and embedded systems was a part of it, and they had the courses that I liked and the opportunity to take other courses if I wanted. So that was basically the process I followed. And also, of course, like you can take into consideration things like language barriers, if that's something that you want to look at. Yeah.
Got it.
Wonderful.
I think that sets the tone for the next question. I'll
Yeah.
probably try to put this question in a different format just to be able to get as much information as possible from you. That's my intention of this whole interview. The question is from an anonymous attendee. He's a 2019 he or she is a 2019 passed out. He's still looking for a good job. And then he says, they say that they don't have any software skills, and he's not able to take up any course due to a financial problem. His question is, so what do I have to do now for a job, to get a job?
I'd still say you don't necessarily need to take up a course. So join some forums, online forums. Like there's EDA Circuit. Like there are plenty of forums online. Join those forums. See if you can start any pet projects in the meanwhile. Start building up your skills, like download few softwares, look at YouTube videos and tutorials, because there are plenty of tutorials available online, not just YouTube, but then like other softwares, other forums. So you can build up your skill set if you want. And then start building up connections, like start networking, start talking to people, reach out to them and see if they can help you out. Either you can collaborate with them on some project, or that way you get to connect with them, and it's something that you can put on your resume as well. So yeah.
Got it. Just on that note, I don't know how, whoever you are, I don't know how serious this job situation is for you. If you're desperate to get a job right now, pick up any job that's available, no matter what the salary is, no matter what the job is. If you really need that job as such for the financial situation that you're in, just get any job and then parallelly work hard to get your dream or a good job, whatever you define that good job to be. That's what I would say. I'm sure Nikhil also would have some pointers on that. Nikhil will say how to earn money from home.
Yeah.
I knew what is coming. Yeah, Nikhil.
No. So the anonymous attendee, look, if it's, see, there's, as you ask in your question, there's two aspects to it. There's one is developing your skills and finding a job. So developing your skills, you should follow what Shweta mentioned. It's pretty straightforward. There's no shortcut to it. There's no magic course which you can take and start getting jobs. It's just hard work to develop your skills. And finding job, don't just look at the traditional job portals. Look at LinkedIn, look at Facebook, look at AngelList. I'm not joking. A lot of startups are looking to hire embedded system engineers, do make postings on AngelList, LinkedIn, and even Facebook these days. So don't look at just the traditional job portals. And if in terms of applying to these jobs, what you can also do is connect with HRs of some dream companies of yours, and maybe write to them. Maybe they may offer you an unpaid internship, but then that can be a good starting off point. Maybe 2-3 months of hard work, and they offer you a full-time job. So if I were you, I would put a lot of effort on building my skill, and I would also put a lot of effort on increasing my reach. So don't just look at the traditional job portals. All these tools which I mentioned, which Shweta mentioned, are all free. Like
Yeah.
YouTube, you can go right now, go to YouTube and start searching. You can apply on LinkedIn for free. You can apply on AngelList for free. So don't just look at your traditional job portals. I mean, that's a very big mistake, which I've seen a lot of people do. So yeah, I hope this answers your question, anonymous attendee.
Totally. And the first thing, please start searching on Google. Please use Google as effectively
Yes.
as possible.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Most of us
next,
are not utilizing it for sure. Yeah, Nikhil.
yeah, so I guess these are all the questions. Participants, this is just like a final call if I would say. So any other questions you can think of related to embedded systems which you'd like Shweta to answer? Who knows, maybe you can even ask her for some secrets on how do you get a consulting role in Google. But any other questions, guys, come on. So let's see. If any other questions pop up, great. If not, I guess we can wind it up, Yogi.
Yeah, we're on time right now. We've already extended by a minute.
Yeah.
That's it.
Shweta, on that note, till others ask you a question, right? So would you be open if some of these students reach out to you over LinkedIn to connect with you and see if they could get some sort of an inputs or insights from you based on whatever they're doing? Perfect.
Yeah, of course. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Guys, make sure you get her name right. It's Swaetha Varadarajan. Just be clear about it, because I've done this. I've tried to search her profile to get her the bio, and each time I did a mistake. I used to keep typing SHW and then I would never find it. So it's SWETHA.
Yes.
Guys, also one more quick thing. After this session, we'll be uploading the entire sort of interview on YouTube. It will be available on Facebook as well. So say you missed anything, you can always rewind and check it out. And yeah, any parting words for all these aspiring and embedded system engineers, Shweta?
Well, keep what you develop your skill set. Always have curiosity. Explore as much as you can, and reach out to people. And
Perfect.
So I think reaching out to people is
fun.
not something which comes naturally to a lot of embedded systems engineers.
no, maybe not. But then it's as easy as starting a conversation. I mean,
So
yeah.
Just to make it easy, just assume everyone's your friend and then just say hi and then see what happens.
Yeah, hi.
Exactly. Yep.
Can we have a conversation? Can we talk about this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
people are
sometimes talk
open,
about this.
especially during this lockdown time. Everyone's open, so please utilize this time. Everyone's available. If you want to get even the biggest of people on the industry, now they're very accessible. Please use this time to reach out to anyone that you want. What, Nikhil?
Yes.
What I'm right? At this point of time,
yeah.
you reach out to so many
100%.
people, and everyone's like, "Yeah, let's do something about it." Totally. So, guys,
Yeah,
utilize this opportunity for sure. The next 2 months are going to be a little crucial for each and everyone, either in terms of upskilling or building your network. The world has given you an opportunity on a platter. It's just about utilizing it.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great.
Perfect.
So thanks a lot.
Great.
Thanks a lot, Shweta. Thanks a lot for joining us at Career Shack to help our participants to understand how an embedded systems career would look.
Thanks for having
Guys,
me.
don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook page. Just Career Shack, CAREERSHACK. And yeah, Yogi, I guess let's wrap it up.
Yes. Firstly, thanks a lot, Shweta. On a working day, you've been able to take time off. Currently, it's I think about 11 a.m. there, 11, 12
yeah,
a.m. there. Taking time off on a working day to be available for our kids here. And
it was my
and the kind
pleasure.
of insights that you've been able to give was amazing. I'm sure some of them would come back to you and ask a lot of questions and then try to see what they could do out of their career. That's one thing. And I'm sure that a lot of people are inspired to take up embedded systems as a career. If they did not have that clarity, I think that is something that you've given them today. And also about what subjects to pick and choose during the whole phase. I think that's going to help them a lot. It's going to create what is that called? Aircraft runway for them in terms of career. I just hope that happens. And then thanks for joining in, Shweta.
Yeah,
Take
you're
care
welcome.
then.
Glad
Bye-bye.
I was of some help. Bye-bye.
Totally.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Take care. Bye, guys. See you then.
Bye. See you, everyone.